Hello viewers and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be playing Darkest Tower Hearts of Iron game again and continue the series called Win at Darkest Tower. I'm going to be playing the vanilla version once again, and this time I'm going to be playing as 1933 Italy. Why? Well, first of all, it's been suggested by a dear subscriber of mine, Koba, which was also Stalin's nickname, plus no one was really interested in me naval invading World War I UK as Germany. So we're going to play as Mussolini over here. I'm going to be using basically the previous settings. And what are the goals here? Well, I'm going to show you how to build up as Italy from 1933 onwards, how to turn the Mediterranean into your own personal bathtub for enjoyment, and how to win in Africa. So without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into the video. So as Italy in the 1933 scenario, you could notice a few things. We have some descent, an okay-ish industry, a land army that's primarily in our homeland. Our eyes are also set on this unfortunate African country, but you also do know, at least from any historical textbook, that we participate in World War II. So we have to build up for it. For starters, checking ministers is a fairly good idea. You can't change the head of government, unfortunately, so we're gonna have to look at the other ones. The armaments minister is great for the free industry. This person is also alright, I'd say. Unfortunately, there's no research time modifier guy, so he'll do. This guy is rather abhorrent as a chief of the army minister. However, there's no one I can really replace him with, at the very least until the war breaks out, so I'm gonna keep him here. This chief of the Air Force guy, who cares about him? Chief of the Navy. He can stay here until I start building ships. We'll have to swap him out. This person is alright, he can stay. The Minister of Security, in my opinion, is pretty good here, because he gives extra manpower, growth and money production. However, we're going to have to change him to Mr. Mussolini for now, since he gives descent growth rate and consumer goods need minus 10%. That will help me fight with the descent after I put everything on consumer goods. And for the sliders, we're obviously going to go one towards Hawk Lobby. You really can't go wrong with that, trust me. Technology-wise, as Italy, we are in a semi-acceptable shape, so we're going to research 1930s logistics. We'll follow that up by researching antibiotics. We will also research better artillery, because why not, let's be honest. And land doctrines, well, I can of course abandon defensive focus and go for mobility focus. However, this will make things way too easy, even for a new buy, so we're going to stay with that. And when it comes to naval technology, I'm going to start researching 1933 submarines. You shall see why. After that's done with, you can start looking at your navy. Detach every possible transport ship from your naval fleet and put them into one province just for easy access of sorts. Because if you just do this once, then you won't have to do this ever again. So after you've done that, look at your navy closely. What do you have? Well, you have submarines, you have destroyers. What I would do, honestly, is convert all of my destroyers into convoy escorts and every possible ship into something else. Why? Well, you as Italy are going to be fighting the British Navy and the French one. And the current navy that you have by the time of World War II will only be good for playing bumper cards with the British Navy, where you will rarely come out on top. So what I do is just, first of all, convert every possible ship to convoy escorts. And what I'd also recommend doing is collecting all of your submarine units into a single province as well. Why? Well, the submarine units in this game don't have the torpedo attachment, as it seems. Instead, the torpedo acts more like a passive improving technology to the submarines, so allow me to show you. Yes, as you can see here, I can only attach the improved hull here, so the submarines are going to be strong on their own, obviously, so we're going to leave them be. Alright, after the naval reorganization has been completed, it's time for the army reorganization. Every militia unit that we have naturally, we're going to start converting into infantry divisions, primarily because it is free. Auto upgrades are a very overpowered thing that they've added, and infantry units are obviously much stronger than militia units. Oh, plus this garrison division here. And they'll make a much better combat force for the wars to come. Now after that's done with, we're going to enact the economic policy event, because it decreases our descent a little bit and gives us a fairly big IC boost. And we need all of that industry. So for the interwar, my main plan is going to be to reduce the descent first of all, build a colossal industry, not a very large one because as Italy we don't produce too many resources, and build a substantial army and coastal guard force for the African theater. So what turning the ships into convoy escorts has done is drastically decrease the amount of supplies that we need each and every day to fuel our economy, which means that our descent reduction will be very good and our descent will be quickly gone, which is what we really need. So after all 7 transport ships that you start with came to the province of your choosing, you can start slowly transporting your army into Africa to combat Ethiopia when the time will be right. Though you do have some time before it, so you don't need to rush it, just do it casually. What's also important to research here are seaplanes, and you'll see soon why. So by middle of September, we have reduced our descent completely to 0. So it is time to start industrializing. I'm going to start industrializing in provinces that are, I guess, landlocked, because it's way less likely to lose those provinces compared to coastal provinces, since you'll be getting naval invaded by the allies, don't you worry. Building IC like this is a safety precaution more than anything. So it's 1934 for me right now, and it has been a year since we've started. My industry is still being built, and I'm researching fairly important technologies here and there, so things are going well in Italy so far. I've also organized my army here a little bit, so that my little army groups have 7 to 6 divisions if possible. It's much better to min-max of course, but you're going to be friggin' fighting Ethiopia, not a superpower yet, so we can get away with it quite easily. Also, when you do get enough money, invest it into research modifiers in the peacetime. Why? Well, you as Italy don't really have a spectacular research modifier or research speed in general, and getting some blueprints for technologies is very good always. It's also a very nice idea to put the 1 or 2 points of industry that you have without being properly utilized into making supplies, so that afterwards you could trade with other countries for money. That money will of course allow you to invest into a research modifier, and I would recommend trading 2.5 supply units for every 1 pound in Darkest Tower. This does potentially mean that you're going to be playing a stonk simulator, but free research speed is just so beautiful. A very good argument of industrializing as Italy is that you unlock way more research slots while you're going, so having more research slots obviously means you can research many more techs at once and not lag behind. And Italy is a nation that has a lot of manpower, however they don't have a lot of industry to utilize all of it, so industrializing as Italy in the peacetime is very important. About 1.5 months before the war starts, you can start reinforcing your units. You might be saying, you have partial mobilization for that during wartime, and yes, I sure do. However, that does mean that the militia divisions will upgrade faster because you're reinforcing them manually, and you have the manpower for that, so go ahead. Once the event pops off for the Second Italo-Abyssinian War, let's kickstart it instantly. Now, of course, I know that I said that the militia divisions need to reinforce manually. However, enacting partial mobilization in this case is a very nice idea, because it means that your industry is gonna be constructed far quicker than it would otherwise. Now, what I would also do is switch out Benito Mussolini for the man of the people here, because during wartime your mobilization slider gives you less manpower from consumer goods on a daily basis, and getting a modifier for money production partially offsets that. Plus, during this war, your manpower is gonna grow manually by a pretty decent amount, so he will help with that quite a bit, along with this chief of staff. And for the second slider change, just go more towards Hawk Lobby. Oh, this is a very important event. The unemployment rate down to 10% makes your industry skyrocket, like the economic recovery policy event, which allows you to build more IC each and every day. So after bullying Ethiopia, you don't really need to annex them instantly. Why is that? Well, the wartime bonus that you get is a decrease in consumer goods, so less points in consumer goods means that you can utilize more IC for production. And there we go, another amazing result of industrialization. We now have 6 tech teams compared to the 4 that we began with. And once we get the Spanish Civil War intervention event, just why not partake in it? What's the worst that can happen? And you see this event here, Italian Army Reorganization. Well, it does give you quite a few infantry divisions. I prefer the max strength of my divisions being at 100 instead of 70, even if I do get 3 units. Plus the fact that you have 70 max strength in your infantry divisions does not help you at all, since you don't have really good ground defense efficiency as Italy. So for example, 4 divisions are going to be at a strength of 2.8 divisions, while for example 3 divisions in the North African front from the United Kingdom, for example, are going to have 3 strength. So your 4 divisions are going to be weaker than 3 of theirs. I just like stability, I guess. So at this point, I would finish industrializing and just kind of build my last row of industrial capacity. Why am I not building IC in serial? Well, even if you do, they do not get the bonus that usually you get a gearing bonus, but the gearing bonus does not work for industrial capacity. Now that we have about 30 IC that is available, we're going to start building heavy submarines. Oh, excellent. So what you need to do after you're content with abusing the wartime modifier is to try to puppet Ethiopia by going to basically propose deal and make puppet. And do that until they eventually accept. Because 50 plus divisions extra in the African front, no matter how bad they are, is still a very significant amount. So they will distract the British while you beat them up in Egypt, Sudan, and etc. Since you are going to be using heavy submarines as Italy, it is very important to research naval technologies, which give them max positioning and minimum positioning. What does it do? Well, I believe it allows the naval ships to encounter enemies at a better distance. So you'll do very well in naval combat if your positioning is up to scratch. Oh wow, the Anschluss happened in 37 because I signed the anti-Comintern pact as soon as I could. That's amazing! Now what I would suggest doing, if you haven't already, is to transport the divisions from Ethiopia into Libya, and also to start building a crap ton of militia while you're at it. So about 13, yeah, this is a pretty good amount. However, while I do admit I over-industrialized as Italy a little bit, the fact that I have 7 research teams now really helps me out, and it will save you as well. If you have not done this yet, upgrade the infantry that you have received from the militia within the African front into motorized divisions. It will make sense a little bit later. So now that we have some militia pouring in, what we are going to do is to guard the coasts with them. On the coastal provinces that I find rather important, we're going to put 3 units. and on the other ones where the allies usually don't navally invade, we're going to put 2, because defending your homeland is very important. So for the African plus Middle Eastern front, you're going to have to use 28 to 30 divisions in total to garrison all of it, if you put 2 militia units per coastal line. So at least 30 militia divisions are going to be attributed there. And after the Spanish Civil War ends, you get a free motorized division. So that's nice. So for the next slight change, I'd go towards central planning, because that increases my total industry and resource production a little bit, because my industry is getting a little bit overloaded supply-wise from the stuff I'm producing. Soon enough, we get this event called Annexation of Albania. So we send Mr. Zog an ultimatum and he usually refuses. Here we declare war upon him and use mountaineers that we snagged from this army over here to launch an amphibious assault, because the infantry units have a horrible modifier for that, and mountaineers do okay in naval combat. So yeah, as you can see here, they just completely dominated Mr. Zog. Oh, and there we go. Germany declared war on Poland in October 1939, so they probably had a lot of time to prepare. Amazing. While you're trying to get assembly line experimentation, try to invest into research to get the blueprint for this amazing technology. Okay, so Germany has declared war upon France. They usually win this pretty easily, and you're able to get into the war once they take Paris, which is amazing. You don't have to, of course, if you don't feel ready, but I'd say that our country at this point is fairly ready. Now that Germany has taken Paris, the Allies are definitely about to lose the war. So let's join the Axis. Make sure that your newly upgraded motorized divisions have a logistics wizard person on them, because it just makes them much faster. And follow this trajectory initially, because these British divisions here will get encircled, and that's the first encirclement that you need. And while you're at it, do destroy the French divisions that are over here. AI is going to start strategically deploying to this front, so it is a good idea to rush to the Suez, quickly take the Middle East, and encircle as many divisions as you possibly can. Oh, it's 1940 and I'm at war with the Americans already. That's kind of surprising and a bit scary. However, I think I'm going to pull this off rather well anyway. And I can see that my manpower is down the drain, so let's enact general mobilization. Despite the fact that America has joined, Spain is also on my side, which I find to be very interesting. I'm going to use that and take Gibraltar as soon as possible, so that the Mediterranean is going to become my personal playground, as I like to see it. Okay, so after taking this province here as Zarqwa, I'm going to put 7 militia divisions here and build a fort plus infrastructure. Since Iraq is going to get invaded from Iran, and I don't really think I can hold that effectively while I'm busy in Africa, so this is going to be a choke point of sorts, to put it lightly. And there we go, Gibraltar is now completely ours. The British are completely cut off from the Mediterranean. There we go. We have encircled quite a few British divisions here within the Horn of Africa. 12 in total. Don't worry, they're not going to get out, there's just no way. I've made a total of 10 cavalry divisions, so now I have 12. And I'm going to upgrade them into armored divisions, which I do believe at this point is overkill, but I don't really think it's going to just make things worse on the African front. I basically won it, and this is kind of just the final nail in the coffin. And amazing, me cutting off access to the Mediterranean means that the garrison there on Malta is starving, so I can just theoretically navally invade anytime. Oh, the Spaniards, they just walked into Brazzaville and annexed 3 France. Well, that is one major player in the African front gone and reduced to ashes. Oh, of course this happens. Oh, there we go, it's July 1941 and Germany is launching Barbarossa. That's not too bad, I'd say. The Mediterranean is completely cut off by me and Spain. Africa is, as you can see, we're winning it here completely after being very aggressive and encircling multiple divisions from the United Kingdom. At this point, I could probably send the divisions that are guarding my mainland into Spain or for the west wall, but I have not taken Malta yet, so I'm not going to do anything particularly interesting until I take Malta. Oh, and at some point within win the war, you're going to get this minister, which gives much better supply consumption modifier. So your economy isn't going to be dying from supplies. For some strange reason, we are not at war with the Union of South Africa. Though I do not really think it matters much at this point. I could steamroll them as well with my mobile units. Though what I am worried about a bit more is this. And all this too. It's 1942 and unfortunately the Germans are doing extremely poorly for some reason, despite having a fair bit of troops and me helping them out soon. What I do think I should probably do is take Baku here for the oil fields and push the Americans out of Iraq as much as possible. So at this point what I'm slowly doing is liberating African nations to lower my transport capacity requirements. Plus I'm stripping those provinces away from the British as well, so that's something. There we go, 46 allied divisions encircled and destroyed just like that. Actually I was wrong, it's 49. There we go, one division encircled. It's really not much, but it is honest work. I took Malta with paratroops. That wasn't difficult at all, thankfully. Okay, the Mediterranean is absolutely mine, and besides maybe a few ships, the enemy does not have any ability to launch a naval invasion into me. So what I'm going to do now is try my best to help Germany out here, because they look like they really need it. I'm going to use the coastal guard units for this. And even at this point I think assuming military control of Bulgaria will save me. Yeah, the situation in Germany is looking worse and worse as time goes on, despite the fact that I'm tying down so many troops here within the Caucasus. Maybe if I do take Baku, things will become a little better. Okay, the Caucasus front I'd say has been won by me. I just need to try my best and consolidate this encirclement. This will likely draw even more Soviet troops from the Eastern Front into this hell of a Middle Eastern front. This has had to be the hardest encirclement I've ever had to perform in this game, and it's against the friggin' Soviets, of course. They just kept cycling in and out of it 24/7, it was so hard to hold. It's 1944 and things are not easier for me at all. However, I'm managing to tussle with the Soviet army here within the Middle East. As you can see, I landed a few paratroops here, which will cut this Soviet army off and will give me a little bit of free reign against them. We are barely scraping by, and even I am running out of manpower. But the paratroopers, I'm so glad I built them. They're putting in so much impact. Leningrad and Stalingrad have been taken. Now it's just time to take Moscow somehow. And landing these paratroopers here on the island is the final nail in the coffin for the Baltic front. So once all of these divisions clear up, we can just launch one final push everywhere. And of course, after surrounding their capital, Kuibyshev, they can no longer gain any reinforcements or supplies. So that means that all of this at this point is just free real estate, and we need to finish them off. I guess that at this point I just can't hold it off anymore. I'm gonna have to further extend mobilization. Oh, finally, bitter peace in 1946, June 1st. This has probably been the most difficult Eastern Front I've had to contend with. Primarily because I wasn't running it, I was just kind of doing my best to survive it, and survive it we did. We friggin' got all of Africa for ourselves. We took the Mediterranean as well. We beat up the Soviet Union, and yeah, we have carried the Axis so hard you wouldn't be able to believe it. So at this point I'd say it's safe to mutter that we have won the war here. We just have to naval invade the United Kingdom and then potentially the US, which is far easier said than done, let's be honest. However, if anyone wants to see me do that, then just write in the comments. I'm going to end this episode right over here on a fairly high note. A very good tip that I can give is not to play as 1933 Italy if the AI Germany is going to be a complete ditz. So if everyone enjoyed the video, this is approximately how you need to play as Italy, and I'll see everyone and what else I plan on doing. Goodbye everyone.